and my wife was doing something in the living room, and I just kept reading passages out loud to her, right? I was just like, this point right here, this point right here.
Welcome to Proofread, a podcast to help you read more of what you love and less of what you don't.
Hello, and welcome to Proofread. My name is Casey. I'm a nice lady with 4 kids, about to be an empty nester, so I have lots of time for reading. Here is my friend Tyler.
I'm Tyler. I have 3 kids, and I don't have as much time for reading. My kids are younger. They're all under 12 at the moment, and so I don't have as much time to read, which is why we're doing a podcast like this.
That's right. You got to pick the best books. Okay, so the book we've read for today is called The Invisible Kingdom. This is super relevant. This was a National Book Award finalist. This lady who wrote this is Meghan O'Rourke, and it is about chronic illness. So that's why we decided to read it and tell you. We proofread it for you.
The full title, The Invisible Kingdom, Reimagining Chronic Illness.
Mm-hmm. So the main idea is this woman who wrote it had a very mysterious illness over many, many years. And as she discusses it, it kind of highlights some of the problems with like healthcare and doctors and siloed healthcare. And she says that maybe not having a narrative to explain yourself is part of the agony of illness. So we're going to go into read or skip. Are you ready, Tyler?
I'm ready.
Okay, so we go 3, 2, 1, read or skip. We say it at the same time. Ready?
Okay.
3, 2, 1,
read.
Ooh.
Oh, we're both on it.
Okay, so we agree. All right. Do you want to tell me why read?
Yes. The reason I say read for this is actually quite personal. So my wife is one of the people that O'Rourke talks about in this book who had long COVID. And since then has just really been in poor health. And it was weird for me to read this book and just feel like I was so familiar with this woman's journey. And in the book, she's actually narrating an experience that happened starting in like 2008 and then really, intensifying in 2012 and onward. And so this is kind of before that. But one of the things that she frames for us in this book is talking about how COVID specifically has kind of brought to light a lot of people's experiences like hers that have been happening for a long time. And COVID kind of shined a big light on it. So for me, my experience of reading this, the reason I would suggest it is that if you have someone in your life that's been dealing with chronic illness, or you yourself, of course, right? This book, I think, is a really, really well-researched and interesting perspective into just navigating that whole journey, from conceptualizing how you need to reconceptualize disease to thinking through the stop, starts, and cul-de-sacs of an experience like this that doesn't, as you said, doesn't have like a defined ending.
Yeah, that's what I think too, because she says that like 24 to 50 million people are suffering from Lyme disease and Hashimoto's, all these kinds of poorly defined diseases that sometimes last for a long time. They sit there and nothing happens for a while, and then COVID can exacerbate it, or you get a tick bites you a long time ago and then it comes up, and that have historically they've affected women more, and that have seemed kind of like hypochondriacs had them.
They seem a little squishy, too squishy for us to conceptualize.
Squishy, exactly. And I got to be honest, I was thinking if this lady who wrote the book were my friend, I might be getting a little sick of her. But I'm not proud of that.
Sure.
Because something happens and then she gets better and then she does all this tests and then it's bad and she's fine for a while. And as a friend and you are a partner, you want it to get better and you want to help do something that makes it get better. Yeah. And it doesn't. And so her narrative is thoroughly researched. I found it incredibly readable. It's kind of literary. There's some history about, all the kinds of hysteria and things that people used to think were like evil spirits and things like that. And then they found out, oh no, that was actually a bacteria and all of this. It's kind of like how these diseases are now. And so I think for me, you shouldn't skip it because it highlights so many problems of like empathy and understanding how to help, and also doctors, because they're the same way. If we can't solve it, if there's no test that shows it, what do I do about it? No one wants to give, this ongoing care that might not ever end, because some people just live with this disease.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is this isn't a straight like memoir.
No.
And it's not like, here's my experience, here's like a personal essay or something.
Right.
And that was something I was kind of struck by reading it, is sometimes you can read memoirs of illness and they can be really straightforward. I actually got Lyme disease in 2018, but I had the bullseye rash that showed up right away. And so I treated it with pretty ridiculous amount of antibiotics right away. And so I didn't get into the late stage Lyme disease that a lot of people are talking about. Sometimes it's called post-treatment and things like that, but it's a sense of people go through, they experience symptoms for years, don't know what it is, and then they finally kind of like, maybe it's Lyme disease. And Lyme disease testing can be really inconclusive.
Yeah.
The author here, as you know from having read it, you read it, right?
I read it, yeah.
She talks about being treated for Lyme disease, but she's not sure if she had it. But she doesn't like own that diagnosis, right? She's using her own story, but she's really piecing together a history and like the goal of this book is, can we understand chronic illness better? Where some people kind of give their memoir, and I hope to get that it's really focused on their experience. Hers is focused on her experience, but there's so much more she's dealing with. So when I read Ross Douthat's The Deep Places, and it's a history of dealing with Lyme that he didn't realize at first until he had all these health things.
Oh, he had this too. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And he did this, I think, a year or two ago. But that one is very much like his experience. But that is like, I would say, like a not shallow and not being useful, but kind of more of a here's my experience, and he talks into Lyme disease a little bit and things. This is like the full river, right? Like he just kind of like, here's this kind of stream. Like, let me give you the details you need to know to understand this, and I'm making a point about how we need to rethink illness in this country. But hers is like a really multidimensional understanding of what's wrong with diagnostic medicine.
This is why I think you should read it. It made me think of things I hadn't thought about before. It helped me have empathy for people who go through this, because I don't have anything like this, except I do have migraines, which is kind of a similar thing. This kind of people think it's imaginary. And that starts with a quote that says, "We are never more and sometimes less than the co-authors of our own narratives." And I think that that's really interesting, because sometimes this is gendered. And I know that I always felt self-conscious about doctors thinking I'm a hypochondriac. Do you?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
And do you try to act in a way that will make a doctor like you more?
I just assume I'm inherently likable.
Are you? That's a true answer, isn't it? It's true, right?
I don't know. I don't worry about a doctor liking me when I meet them. I'm not worried about that.
That is the complete opposite of me.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? So there is a real gender thing happening here. So you had the same thing. You had a bullseye rash, you had Lyme disease, and you never worried that anyone thought you were a hypochondriac, and you don't try to make a doctor like you. What about waiters and servers and mail carriers?
Oh, no, I think I want people to like me, definitely. But I guess I just meant like I'm not like in this moment, this doctor needs to like me. But I do want them to think of me as sensible.
Okay.
How's that?
But
How's that for a nuance?
You just assume that they're going to believe you.
Well, Lyme disease I knew was going to be tricky, and the emergency physician, like I went to the emergency room to meet with someone because it was on a weekend, and the guy didn't think I had Lyme disease. He's like, "Oh, we don't have that here in this part of the country," and I was like, "This photo looks exactly like the photo on Google Images, man."
It just didn't make you like feel dumb and regret everything you've ever said and done. That's how I feel all the time after seeing a doctor.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. That's how she feels too. So she talks a lot about.
Well,
that.
I really want to like connect with you on that, Casey, because my wife, as we've gone through this whole thing, like so much of the care has been, is this a doctor I can work with? Like, is this relational? Do they understand me? Are they listening to me? Or are they dismissing me? And I think that is genuine. That sense of feeling dismissed is.
Oh, totally. I didn't go to the doctor for 15 years because it was pointless. I would just do my own research and share diagnoses with my friend, and it worked just as well.
Well, and one of the things that was great for me in this book is that so many of the responses that my wife has experienced, this experience of having chronic illness and having to just deal with that and live in the world with that, so many of the responses the author here, Megan O'Rourke, covers. She's like, oh, yeah, there's this part of it, and there's this part of it. And so it was this validating thing, and I was reading this on the couch. My wife was doing something in the living room, and I just kept reading passages out loud to her. Right? I was just like, this point right here, this point right here. And it's along this line of what you're saying of like feeling like you've been dismissed at the doctors.
Yeah.
So especially for someone that's gone through this whole thing, she puts nice words in perspective to what that experience is like.
Yeah. So how'd you like her partner in this? He seemed pretty nice, I thought.
Yeah, I think so. He seemed pretty nice. I also just really liked that she brought her partner in and his perspective, because these are again, I'm like, maybe I'm too connected to this, you know?
No, I think it's great. And that's what she says. Who should read this book is anyone who's gone through this or anyone who knows someone who's gone through this, because we tend to be dismissive. Even I do. That's what this book is about.
Yeah.
And that's even what she's saying. She's like, I know I sound crazy. She's very self-aware, but she's like, I was this desperate. This is all this stuff happened. I'm self-aware. I know I sound like I'm crazy. I'm going to get a fecal matter transplant. And then she talks about it. And I was like, that's how it is. It's a real disease. And, you know, she's just like reading and doing all this stuff on her own. So what shelf do you put this book on, Tyler?
For me, I think that this shelf is like a connection shelf or an understanding shelf.
Okay. Okay.
How about you, Casey?
For me, I put this on the shelf that people have to read it if anything's going to change.
Yeah.
So I think this is a should read.
Yeah. For me, I think this is a should read. And what I mean by connection or understanding is that one of the great things she does in this book is she talks about how when you get chronic illness, you have to re-narrate your experience.
Exactly.
It's tied up in your identity because the health, like our health is tied up in our identity. And that is a destabilizing experience. And one of the things I was thinking about reading this is I wonder what my wife's experience would have been like had she had read a book like this while she was going through the early stages of figuring out how do I navigate an illness like this.
Yeah, she makes it clear how important a diagnosis is or has become in this society, because if you don't have a diagnosis,
Yeah.
you don't have to have a way to explain it. And so until you read this, I think you won't realize how much that matters, and then you won't see the things that need to change.
Yeah.
And I think people, the way we relate to people that have these diseases, or if it's us, how we feel about ourselves, because there's a whole bunch about like blame the patient, maybe if I eat healthier, blah, blah, blah. That's a whole thing that people struggle with. Whole thing about healthcare. Does medicine still matter as a moral enterprise? I mean, the siloed healthcare, all of those issues. You know, she highlights some structural problems, some equality problems.
Yeah.
It was this book surprised me at how good it was and how relevant it was.
Yeah. Can I read a passage to you?
Yes.
She says, one of the most important discoveries I made in the process of being ill is that solitary striving, my American habit of self-focus, was in some fundamental way a degradation of the most powerful aspects of our lives, which now seem to me to be our interconnectedness and need of others. I look at my small sons and I see that they need me, and in that I see what is most meaningful in the end. Not children specifically, but the bonds among us. But
that is true.
And that's what I
love
mean
that.
about the connection book is that like if like you just said, like it might be hard to deal with someone like that. Like having a friend with chronic illness is difficult because it's not here's their clear-cut diagnosis. Now I know what you have.
You don't know what to do.
And there's up and downs. And so a book like this is going to allow you to get a good sense of what it's like to imagine chronic illness and live with it. And that I think is going to guide you to be a better understanding parent, friend, partner. I think that's for me, I think, the value of this book. As someone that's like a partner, someone who's dealt with this really intimately, I feel better prepared to navigate this with my wife as a result of reading a book like this.
Agree. And if everyone read this, doctors, family members, I think it would be better. I think this is a should read.
Yeah, because it's just too easy to say, this is too complex. And that's kind of the point she's making, is if we live in a medical world that is, well, I'm a doctor and I heal things, and so if I can't heal you, then there's probably not a problem here, right? Or there's something else. Then you become like, sorry, I don't have time to think about you. There's all this other stuff.
Definitely.
And this book is an invitation to say we've got to rethink the way we approach it all.
Totally.
Okay, well, Megan O'Rourke,
You've been proofread.
It's a little bit sing-songy there. Is that what?
We are so cute.
I'm not sure.
Proofread is a production of BYU Radio and is produced by Jeff Simpson with help from Erica Price, Becca Hurley, and Lisa Valentine Clark. Find us on YouTube at Proofread Podcast for video clips and more. And please follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Thanks for spending your time with us today, and happy reading.